Welcome back to the Reading Corner here on Dreamers Defy. If you're here, you've probably been reading along with us here on Vengeful. We're up to chapter 32 today. Some things happened in chapter 31. If it's your first time here, go back to the introduction, watch that video, listen to the disclaimers. There are some sensitive topics in this story, and catch up with us. We'll still be here. We'll be here. And then you can carry on with us as we read, if I can work my mouth today, chapter 32, which I'm getting to right now. Chapter 32 of Vengeful by AJ Parnell. All bad things must end. Hours later, as the sun began to sink on the horizon, Luke stood, iron rod in hand, the metal perched on the last marked spot of the larger circle, as a happy Izzy skipped by and grateful Andrea walked past, just before a peaceful Tyler and content Richard, all of them now whole, strolled out and faded with the dying light of the day. Stepping out of the iron circle, Emily stopped beside Luke. You'd better finish sealing that circle. It won't take Abigail long to figure out what has happened to her. At a loss for words, Luke simply nodded as he looked back at the empty field. Gone was the large metal cage, rings of salt, and all the tools, save for the hammer he now held in his hand. The only signs from the previous night were a small mound of dirt that would soon be blown and worn away by the harsh environment it found itself in. With nothing left to do, Luke drove the last stake deep into the ground, making sure to level it off with the surrounding shifting sand. Satisfied, Luke tossed the hammer into the bed of his truck and then dumped a gallon of water onto the dying embers of the fire. Peering over his shoulder, Emily asked, "You sure everything is burned up?" Digging into his jacket, Luke pulled out Emily's charm bracelet. "Everything but this. I promised your sister I'd give it back to her." Emily gently closed Luke's hand around the jewelry and smiled. "I'd like that. Thank you." Lump in his throat, Luke cast a worried glance at the iron circle. Emily backed toward the vicinity and a knowing grin on her face. "Don't worry. Abigail won't be bothering anyone anytime soon." "You sure about that?" Luke asked, unable to hide the concern in his voice. Emily cocked her head to the side as she studied Luke. "I'm sure. But you knew the iron would hold her spirit and that she would be trapped here. But I have to ask, why didn't you just bring all of us out here when you stole the box? You could have just as easily trapped us here and avoided all the extra drama." Luke tore his eyes away from the place where Abigail's body was buried and looked at Emily's happy face. "Because like me, none of you deserve to suffer another moment. It's time we all moved on and enjoyed our life, whatever state it might be in." "I couldn't agree more, Professor. Now get out of here so I can clean things up and be on my way." Starting for the truck, Luke turned back to Emily one last time. "Thank you." Emily motioned for Luke to get into his truck. "No, thank you, Professor. Seems like you have, once again, managed to save me. Now please go already." Winking, Emily motioned to Luke's truck as she laughed. Getting into the truck without a backward glance, Luke smiled. "Goodbye, Emily. Be at peace." His eyes fixed on the road and dark horizon before him, Luke drove off as strong winds swirled over the sand, erasing any signs of footprints or tire tracks. And with a satisfied grin, Emily watched Luke's taillights vanish in the distance. Then, smiling, she too faded from sight. Looking up at the hotel sign, Luke stepped inside and walked up to the registration desk. Luke apologized. "I'm sorry, but I seem to have lost my key. Could I please get another one?" Happy to help, the clerk opened up the screen to his computer. "Sure thing. What's your name?" If everything had gone according to plan, Landon would have checked into the hotel this morning, making sure to leave his car keys in the room and his car parked safely outside. Sir? Oh, sorry. Name is Luke Bolton. I checked in this morning. The clerk clicked away on her computer, smiled, reached over, created another key card, and offered it to Luke. Here you are, sir. And just like that, he was headed back to his old life as if nothing had ever happened. As much as he would like to fall back into the familiar pattern of depression and second guessing, he owed it to Emily and the others to get on with life and try to forget about Abigail Davies and everything that had happened. Stepping into the elevator, Luke looked down at the key card, found the room and floor he was heading to, punched the button, and watched as the doors closed on this unpleasant heading in his life. Finishing his beer, Landon watched as his brother stepped into the elevator and vanished behind the closing door. Luke looked as if he had been to hell and back, but all in all, he seemed to be in one piece and well enough to get himself back home. He would have loved nothing more than to stay and ensure that Luke was okay, but he knew that his time in the U.S. was up, and the longer he stayed, the more risk he would bring to his brother. Luke had been through enough. It was time his brother found a little peace and got on with his life. Matter of fact, it was high time he got on with it as well. Disgusted, Landon looked over at the ragtag truck Luke had asked him to get rid of. Brother, you owe me big time asking me to drive this pile of shit, Landon grumbled to himself as Sylvia, his fiery Latina, wrapped her arms around him. Where to now, hombre? She asked. Spinning her around, Landon pulled her in close. Home. Disgusted, Sylvia asked, In this? Laughing, Landon answered, Afraid so. Don't worry. We'll trade it off as soon as we cross the border. Landon opened the door for Sylvia and helped her inside. Wait, you're not going to introduce me to your brother? Sylvia whined. Landon glanced up at the hotel window. It's better if we don't see each other right now. Smiling, Landon handed Sylvia a passport. Pouting, Sylvia looked at the names on the forged documents. Antonio and Monica Sanchez? Hopping in beside her, Landon spotted a bright gold chain on the floorboard, scooped it up, and studied the polished slug adorning it. Interesting. Admiring the jewelry, Sylvia took it from Landon. Can I have it? Landon shrugged. Sure, why not? Happy to be on their way, Landon slapped the truck into drive. Buckle up, we got a long way to go. Pulling the truck up to the exit, Landon cast a look in his rearview mirror and started when he spotted a bullet-ridden face staring back at him. Landon turned with a start, scanned the bed of the truck, and found it empty. Concerned, Sylvia asked, What is it? What's wrong? Giving another look at his mirror and finding nothing looking back at him this time, Landon laughed. Nothing, just anxious to get back across that border. Putting a hand to his face, Sylvia purred. Then let's be on our way, hombre. Peeling out, Landon steered the truck onto the pavement and started putting much-needed miles between him and his brother. At the university, dressed in a crisp, clean shirt, his expression peaceful, Luke stood against the wall, his eyes watchful as students passed by. Rounding the corner, Rachel started toward him and offered Luke a warm smile. Good morning, Professor. Morning. I have something for you. Luke retrieved a crisp white cloth from his suit pocket, unfolded it, and revealed Emily's charm bracelet. I went for a drive this weekend to clear my head and took the time I needed to say goodbye. Luke reluctantly placed the precious item into Rachel's outstretched hand, then slowly pulled away. Thank you. Fighting back fresh tears, Rachel looked up at Luke. Would it be strange to admit that I had a dream about Emily and you last night? She seemed happy for the first time in a long time. A sad smile tugged at the corner of Luke's lips. No, it wouldn't be strange at all. Later that day, as Luke organized stacks of papers at his desk, he noticed a lone note sticking out of the corner of a book. Flipping the book open, Luke spotted the scribbled message from Landon. His heart gave a little lurch as he looked up at his students, who were busy getting their tests done. Taking his seat, Luke read the paper as hot tears began to pool in his eyes. "Hope you found what you were looking for. Now get on with your lame-ass life and start living again, 'cause the world and your crazy-ass brother need you. LB." Tucking the note in his pocket, Luke turned his attention to the window. He hoped that Landon had made it safely back to Mexico, and knew that no matter where he or his brother found themselves, when it really mattered, they would be there for each other, no matter what. Lost in thought, Luke allowed his mind to wander from the quiet classroom out to the parking lot and beyond. Back in the desert, more than 100 miles away, vast, barren plains of prairie grasses, cactus, and sand stretched out across the horizon back to the Iron Circle. Trapped within her invisible prison, Abigail stood alone, hands balled into clenched fists, hair disheveled, eyes wild, as her mouth opens over and over again in silent, never-ending screams. The end. Or at least that's the end of Vengeful, the actual story. Now, we still have a few more chapters to go, and each one of those chapters is actually for the ghost. Each one kind of has their own little cover inside here, and it's each one of their backstories. And we'll start with Izzy, then we will get to Andrea, and from there we will go on to Tyler, and then to Richard, and finally Emily is the last one. And we will get to all those just like we've been doing here when we've read chapter by chapter. It is part of the book, and so we're going to do it. Now, it's not the main part of the story, but it is their backstory, which means you know a little bit more about each one and how they came to be where they were. So what did you think of the story? That's the thing I need to know right now. Go down into the comments. Let me know what you thought of the story. If you think that there should be a part 2, if you will, maybe a continuation, because Landon's obviously back in Mexico, and Luke is doing okay here in his classroom. And did the detectives ever figure it out? Because it seemed pretty much like, yeah, Rogers was onto something there. And again, it is made into a movie. Filming was done last year in Lee County, New Mexico. And that's where I'm sitting right now as I read this story to you. And I will go ahead and tell you right now, I am in the movie, and you will figure that out if you watch the interview videos coming up starting on Friday. And in that movie, I actually played Detective Rogers. So I have a little bit of insight into how all that goes. And we're going to talk a whole lot about that. This book, 10 years in the making, going to a movie. Yeah, that kind of thing. And that's one of the reasons we started Dreamers Defy, because some stories, those voices just refuse to quit. Those stories need to be told. And we're going to tell them here, and we're going to keep you going with any stories you may have that you've been working on that needs to be told. Send me an email. Let me know all about it. dreamersdefy@gmail.com. You can always message me on here. You can go in the comments, leave me a comment. I'm always happy to talk with you there. So yeah, get back here real soon. The very next reading, we're going to do Izzy, I think, is the very first one. And that is, we're going to tell you the backstory of all the ghosts here on the Reading Corner on Dreamers Defy.